Musically.
Hello and welcome to Relationship Soup. I'm your host, Lisa Hughes. Thank you all for joining me on today. And it's Love Day. So happy Love Day. Hopefully you celebrate love all 365 and not just on one day. All right. And speaking of love, that's what our show is going to be about today. But before we get into it with my dynamic guest, he is so dynamic. And of course, all my guests are dynamic, right? Make sure that you are liking, following, and all that good stuff across all platforms. Relationship Soup Group, join us. Relationship Soup, period. Make sure that you're watching this on YouTube. All right, so now that I got that out of the way. So, anyway, I hope that you all are having a great love day. And let me go ahead and get into it, okay? I'm going to bring on Avachino Reeves. Okay, like you have seen this face not only just on this show, but he is doing big things. All right. And today, we're going to just be exploring all aspects of love. So we hope that this episode challenges you. We hope that it inspires you and just brings more awareness because the world could use a little bit more love, right? All right. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on Chino. Hey,
Hey,
Chino.
hey, it's good to see you. It's been a minute.
I know, right? Look, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it was like what, October, I think. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's been a minute. So, yeah, Happy New Year, Happy 2024. It's February. It's January was real long, but it seemed like February is moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here. You know, I always enjoy conversing with you. I mean,
Oh
we go
man,
back.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So just to remind our listeners, can you share a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. So Avachino Reeves. People finally know me as Chino. I'm originally from Cincinnati, but I am definitely a Naptown native. Grew up on the far east side of Indy. Was a party promoter, concert promoter, radio personality, Mr. Renaissance man. I did a little bit of everything. Ran for office a couple times. Community advocate, and now I handle national events for some of the biggest and most major brands in the country. I handle their activations at places like Essence Festival and things of that nature. And so we won't do too much bragging, but I'm a big deal outside of my city too.
Hey, listen. Hey, look. Talk on, right? Because I mean, that could inspire somebody. You paid your dues and you did the work, and you're doing wonderful things, right?
Yeah, I'll say this for party promoters who think, I mean, the only avenue is throw parties and then get a club. There definitely is a bigger platform for you out there where people appreciate the talents that you gained and the experience you got in the streets, where you can definitely take that to a higher level. So
I love it. I love it. Now let's talk about love.
let's talk about it. Something
All
we
right.
all need.
You hear me? Listen, I need
Mhm.
to love myself out of these sinuses or whatever's going on. I tell you what.
I
But
need to
I
love myself to the barbershop.
nah, you good. You always look good. So, all
Appreciate it.
right. So, what is your definition? Like, if you had to define love, how would you define it?
I mean, love is you know what love is so many different things for so many different people in so many different situations. I mean, I think love is caring. I think love is sacrifice. I think love is passion. I think love is dedication. I mean, it's just that intense, strong feeling that allows you to be all those different things for that person. Sometimes it's not even a person we love. Sometimes it's a sport. Sometimes it's a hobby, but it's just so strong. It's such a passionate pull, such a magnetic force that it just brings the best out of you, or at least the most intense version of you when it comes to where that love is being directed. I can't hear you anymore.
Check 1 2 1 2.
No, I can hear you.
Well, I was just testing you, Gina. I was
I
just testing.
see.
So, how would you say your, I guess, idea of love, how has it evolved over time?
Oh man, that's crazy. Um, I hear a little feedback. Is that on me? Do I need to do something?
Uh,
Um,
no, I don't hear any
oh,
feedback.
okay.
Do you
Yeah,
hear it when
no, no, I don't hear it when you was talking. I heard it for a little bit, but I think we good. It's crazy you asked that question. I was just having a conversation with a couple of friends, and I was telling them that growing up, my dad would come pick me up on the weekends, and we literally would go from like woman to woman's house. Like, I mean, daddy was a player. And every house we stopped at, each and every one of those women gave me some type of gift. It might be money. I remember one time a lady gave me a Venus flytrap, right? You know what I mean? As a kid, that was like the coolest gift ever. Remote control cars, planes, clothes, everything. And so I honestly grew up for a lot of my life looking at love as, if people love you, they give you things, right? And so I associated love with gifts for a long time. Later in life, though, that's when I started to understand that love was sacrifice, right? Like, love wasn't just receiving, love was also what you were able to give. And I think that's just that process of going from a boy to a man, where you start to see that love is service, right? That was one of the words I kind of forgot in the beginning, and providing service. But another thing that most recently kind of hit me out of nowhere that I felt like was pretty profound thought process was, a lot of times we talk about how much we love our family, how much we love our friends, right? And so I was asked to write a poem for Midwest League magazine, and I wrote it, but I didn't give it to Ladina. Shout out to Ladina. But the reason I didn't give it, because it struck an emotional nerve inside of me. And so the poem really was based off of, if you love somebody, then you would do a better job at loving yourself.
mm, mm, mm.
And so it just took me down this rabbit hole, and it was just like, one of the things that hit me was, if you love yourself, you'll do a better job of taking care of yourself, like from your health aspect, what you eat, what you put in your body. Like, if you know that, and this is, I mean, this isn't a health show, but if you know that you're on a path to self-destruction, where the way that you're eating, the way that you're living your lifestyle is cutting years off of your life, right?
Mm.
But we say we love our kids, right? Well, if you love your child, you want to be there for your child, because when you die, death is inevitable. But when you die, that's going to cause your children and people who love you a pain that they've never felt before, right? They felt death, but they haven't felt the disconnection of death when it comes to you. And so if you love your family like you say you do, then love yourself a little more, so you can make sure that they got more time with you. And so the poem wasn't about that, but it was about loving yourself. But again, it kind of led me down that rabbit hole to where it's like, oh wow, I just unfolded another layer of love for me and what love can look like. And so it's crazy that you don't stop learning about love. Like, and that's what it opened up for me, you know, in a bigger thought was like, yo, here I am still learning what love is, but it's growing, it's elevating, it's transforming. And you know, so yeah, love is still growing. I mean, again, it was something as simple as, if you love me, why you don't buy me gifts? And I ain't talking about birthday. Like, you don't buy me nothing, you don't give me nothing. And then it shifted to, you know, understanding service, and then it shifted to understanding or having a higher understanding of what loving yourself does, not only for you, but it does for the people who also love you.
Absolutely. Now, yeah, because self-love is so important, and I've been seeing so much about that, like, just I'd say over the last couple years, right? Which is, I guess I'm drawing that message to me. So how do you prioritize loving you, loving yourself? Because I mean, you a busy man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're an awesome father, businessman, entrepreneur, all of that, right?
Mhm.
How do you prioritize loving you, your self-love?
Yeah, so one thing that I had to do was I had to adopt what I call self-care Sundays. I'm sure I didn't trademark that, I didn't come up with that.
Mhm.
But I started adopting self-care Sundays. And it started out with me saying, well, it's Sunday, I'm going to go do something nice for myself, right? Then it expanded though, and it started being, it's Sunday, I'm not doing nothing for y'all. Like, this is not for everybody else. This is self-care Sunday. And you know, but the truth of the matter is, if you love yourself and you want to practice self-love, it can't be just one day a week. And so what I started to realize was I needed to really, really find a space or a place or a lane where I was always at least identifying things that were like stressors for me. And so what I started was I started this thing called low friction. And none of my people around me, like family, friends, they hate it. They hate it, right? But the reason I adopted low friction, I was riding down the street and this lady had a baby in a stroller. It wasn't warm outside. The baby definitely wasn't dressed appropriately. She had on a coat, boots, and all that. And it just, for blocks and blocks and blocks, it bothered me. I mean, it bothered me so much to where I turned around and I went back looking for the lady and I couldn't find her. And I spent like the next 30, 40 minutes trying to find this lady. And, you know, I'm like, I'm going to buy her a coat. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And before I knew it, I occupied about an hour of my time stressing over something that, I mean, just be honest with you, it wasn't my business. Nothing wrong, but, you know, about wanting to make sure that that kid was in a better situation. But I started identifying how I was just taking on so much of other people's situations, and I wasn't recognizing the amount of friction that it was causing. And so I just started just different situations. It could be me and you having a conversation, and something that should be simple, but somehow it turns complex. Out of nowhere, I would just say low friction, because saying it mentally wasn't enough. When I started saying it physically, it was me able to identify, like, hey bro, you going down that lane that you said you didn't want to go down.
Mhm, mhm,
Right. But what I didn't realize was, as I'm speaking it, I mean, of course people can hear it, but the people around me started to recognize like what it was. They started to recognize the things that they were doing that I was reacting to with that low friction saying. And it started to change people's attitudes and their moods and their moves when they're around me. And now I got people who say it back to me. Like when I'm giving them hell, they like, bro, low friction. And I love it though. I love it because it's something that I've been able to adopt in my life. And no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, you know, when I recognize that something is starting to be a little too much, I just low friction it and push it to the side. And you can't do it with everything. Some things you have to deal with, but when you're recognizing that you're going down that rabbit hole of a lane that you said you didn't want to do, just having those, I guess, trigger words. Like there's so many activities that trigger us. Well, having words that we say out of our own mouths and giving them power so we can trigger a different reaction from ourselves.
that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm a, I, I might have to borrow that.
Hey,
All right, so let me ask you this. Okay, so how do you think like cultural and societal norms, right, shape our our understanding and expression of love? Or I mean, do you think that it even had those things even have an impact?
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you're young and you're learning. You know what I mean? Like I remember being such a materialistic little kid, right? Like I like and like most little kids, you want the best shoes or you want the best clothes. Like you want that. I remember, and again, as I said earlier, I identify love with gifts and gifts with love. And so I remember, I had friends who were blessed to have moms or dads who just really, really spoiled them. Like it was a lot of stuff they didn't give them, but they definitely had the hottest shoes and clothes and stuff. And I remember, I had a white friend and his mom and dad didn't get him shoes and clothes. And I remember thinking in my head, like, man, our parents be bugging. And he was like, nah, my mom loves me. What you talking about? I'm like, man, she won't even get you no Jordans. He was like, we getting ready to go to France, right? Even then, I didn't. I'm like, France, forget France, Jordans, bro,
Right.
right? But his parents saved up money and they took a big summer trip every year.
Hmm.
Every year, here I am thinking that love is Jordans, but his parents are giving him something different, right? And so culturally, and again, as young black kids, we're not taught the value of experiences like that. We learn that later in life. And I'm not gonna say all, I'll say in my hood, we didn't understand the value of an experience going out of the state or going out of the country because we wasn't doing that. I remember my extent of traveling was going from Cincinnati to Indianapolis. And then, football tournaments, we might go to Carbondale or something like that. But I didn't know what it meant to get on an airplane. I didn't know what it really meant to take a summer vacation. I mean, growing up, the only summer vacation I remember taking was going to the Karen place on the bus when they would come pick us up from the neighborhood and stuff like that. And so I think again, culturally, when you're young, it looks like one thing. It can be totally different for a friend, for a family. But I also think that the way that we look at love from a family structure differs from culture to culture. Black people have historically kicked their kids out the house early in life, at least males. Like, you need to get out there and learn how to be a man. And right, they do that out of love. I'm doing this because I love you and I want you to grow up versus other races, not only will they let you stay, they'll pile up in the house and it'll be 15 deep. You know what I mean? They build generational houses where when grandma gets sick, she don't go to a nursing home. She go upstairs in one of those bedrooms, and that's just the way that their culture is. And they say they do that because they love you, right? Well, if I put you in a nursing home and it's a nice nursing home, in my mind, I might be doing the same thing. I'll put you in a nursing home because I love you, but different cultures deal with that differently. So it's so many different ways where the way culture, I mean, even some of the cultures that had weddings that be like multiple days long. And, as a black man, I might be dreading just the one day, and so, I mean, sometimes it's not culture. Sometimes it's a matter of the way you just view the world. But I mean, culture impacts everything. So to think that it can't impact and it doesn't impact love would be foolish on all of us.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now let me ask you this, Chino.
Mhm.
What about social media and technology? Right? How do those things impact like how we love? Or do you think that they impact how we
Yeah, I
love?
mean, let's say I'm gonna show my age. Let's think back to MySpace and Black Planet, right? I don't remember a female ever telling me you don't love me, you're not proud of me because you don't post me on your MySpace. Right? I don't remember anybody really posting anybody on MySpace. And I
Mm-mm.
remember when Facebook first launched, there was nothing on Facebook that would identify whether you were married or in a relationship or dating or any of that, right? But now in this day and age with social media, there are a lot of people that look at social media like if you love me, then I should be all over your page. There are a lot of people that say if you love me, you'll keep our relationship private and you won't post it all over your page, right? And so social media is just a big part of not only how you love somebody, but I think it's starting to become a part of how love is expressed. And there are people that feel like, if you love me, that expression should also be extended to social media.
Mhm.
All right, like it has become a part of the dating process. It's become a part of the what's the word I'm looking for here? How we pursue the I was about to say the grooming, not the grooming process, but how we pursue men or how we pursue women. Like all of that is woven into the new rules of social media. And so when you're in a relationship or when you are telling somebody you love them, then people do now these days expect for that to be expressed on social media. And I mean, I saw somebody today that was complaining about their boyfriend posting flyers for parties, but he don't never post a happy birthday or something like that. And so it's one of those things now that when you're in a relationship, I feel like you have to have a discussion about the social media etiquette when it comes to the relationship that you're in or the marriage that you're in. Like it really matters. And I just remember a time where nobody cared about whether or not you got posted, or like I remember when Instagram just first started, dudes was getting in trouble for liking a picture. Well, that's Instagram. It's you double tap. That's what Instagram is, right? And but if you love me, you wouldn't be tapping on that girl. Oh, okay, now we know that this is part of the love game. And so yeah, it definitely plays a role. I mean, it wasn't there before. I mean, everything is about public affection. That isn't physical affection. I mean, because that's what social media is. It's the ability to be in so many different places without being there at all. And
Mhm.
so I guess it's just an extension of how you express love.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I've seen those posts too about social media and love and all that stuff. And you definitely have to have that discussion. Like, you gonna
Yeah.
be commenting under such pictures, like. So yeah, you definitely have to
Yeah.
explore
I just had that conversation with one of my homeboys. Him and one of our mutual friends got into it because he had liked some of his wife's pictures, and I was just like, "Yo, bro, we really about to have this conversation? Like, your man's can't like." Oh, okay.
that.
And so, that's I thought it was kind of an unwritten rule where like you can follow, but you ain't supposed to go crazy. And I didn't, I don't know how many pictures he liked, but he must have liked enough of them for my guy to get uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And so it's not even just the romantic relationships that we're talking about, even the relationships between homeboys or homegirls, or it's just social media is just become an extension of what the real world is. And so you can't ignore its impact and its power. And so if relationships are built on expectations, then you might as well have a conversation about what your partner or your homeboys or your homegirls expect from you when it does come to social media, because it's an unavoidable situation or
Yeah.
conversation rather.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let me ask you about this because we've been talking about different aspects of love, right? When it comes to self, family, relationships. Do you think that love kind of intersects with career
Oh
and
yeah,
spirituality?
yeah.
How
We,
so?
we probably got to break that down one to the left. So I mean, spirituality, we're gonna put a slash religion in there, you know what I mean? And so again, a lot of people, the way they love, depending on how you were raised, a lot of it could be easily grounded in your spirituality or your religion, right? The Bible definitely talks about love. It definitely gives some guidelines on how you should love and things of that nature. And so if you're somebody that is driven by your religion or driven by your spirituality, and you're in a situation with somebody that's not, you got to find some alignment, right? Because your definition of what love is going to be two different things. You're not going to see love the same way, and if you don't see love the same way, you're not going to be able to express it the same way. But I think even bigger is the inability to receive it, right? Sometimes we don't want to receive love or what we identify as something else because we don't see it as love. And so now you walk around talking about this person doesn't love you, or they don't love you enough, or in some cases the right way. Well, based on his religion, based on his spirituality, that's how he's loving you. He's loving you based on those guidelines. And if y'all had different guidelines, there's definitely going to be a disconnect on the ability to reciprocate love. And I think again to receive it, right? Like somebody can love you for 10 years and never love you the right way. Uh, you know, somebody can love you for 2 days and you feel like this is just the greatest love in the world. You know what I mean? Like we hear that all the time. And I think a lot of that sometimes is grounded in religion. You know what I mean? It is grounded in spirituality. Because again, a lot of times our moral compass is guided by spirituality or religion. And so as your moral compass guides you, there are activities and actions that you will feel like come from a loving place, but if your partner sees that differently based on their religion, then that confusion is going to be there. And sometimes that confusion can be the total opposite of if you loved me, you wouldn't do X, Y, and Z. Right. And so that's they always say equally yoked, right? And we know that really is equally yoked in the spirit. So speaking right now, specifically to spirituality, when you aren't equally yoked in the spirit, it's easy to get some things wrong, some signals crossed, miscommunicated, and even worse, just putting out the wrong message when you talk about loving somebody. What was the other thing you said?
Career. See,
Career.
it can't even intersect at all.
Yeah. So the thing about career is um because I'm guilty of definitely not balancing career and love properly all the time, right? And I have goals and things that I want to accomplish, and I might not necessarily like my job, but I love what I do, and I love that I do it very well. And so sometimes your career doesn't align with your life path. And if it doesn't align with your life path, a lot of times it doesn't align with your love path, right? You ever hear people say, like, oh man, we just met at the wrong time, or timing is the right? That's real. That
Mhm.
is real. Like, there are a lot of women right now that people be like, oh, she damaged, she this, she that. Nah, bro, she chose a career over a family with kids and a husband, and that's her prerogative. There are some dudes out there that get the he want to be a player, or he immature, he don't want to settle down. No, bro got some big goals that he trying to accomplish, and he looks at a relationship that at least the relationship options he have, those aren't relationships that are going to help him access his goals and the levels that he want to meet with his career.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times what happens is you have career minded people who are not in relationships with career minded people. And again, they're not going to understand that. That's I'm speaking English and you speaking French, right? We may want the same thing, but a lot of times because you're career minded and she isn't, or she's career minded and you're not, the timelines don't match up. Y'all want to get to the same destination, but y'all don't want to get there at the same time, nor do y'all want to go through the same path to get there. And so careers definitely intercede and interrupt. And sometimes, though, careers help make a love match, right? They help make a love bond. Like sometimes it's the careers that people have that put them in a position for them to even discover that this is a person that you love, right? And careers also do that outside of the romantic love relationship that exists between a man and a woman. Sometimes career open your eyes up to a lot of different things that you love, a lot of different paths that, like it's like somebody who goes to law school,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
you get a case that opens up your eyes. And matter of fact, here I'll share my own personal story. All right, I just got my gallbladder taken out,
Mm,
and
mhm.
and in the process trying to figure out the best diet for me to utilize so I can have a healthy lifestyle and try to avoid like when you have gallstones and your gallbladder's not functioning right, you'll have gallbladder attacks. And so trying to fend those off, trying to make sure that I'm not subjecting myself to that crazy pain. I'm talking about a gallbladder attack, 8 hours, 12 hours, where it's just pain. Like they say that is the closest a man will ever come to feeling what women feel like when they have contractions. Right.
Wow.
I tip
Oh,
my hat to all women, all of y'all. Um, but I started doing a lot of research, and not to draw it out, but because of that research, I started seeing how the different institutions on different parts of the world see the gallbladder, see removing it, see medicine, different things you can do. And it kind of led me to really, really just sitting there thinking, like, the health system when it comes to black men, and the like, I have great health insurance, but it was my gallbladder doctor who told me some information that changed my life versus my regular doctor who gave me that information. And it just so happens that my gallbladder doctor is a black man. Shout out to him. I ain't gonna put his name out there like that, but shout out to him. You know what I mean? And he put me up on some game that I needed to be looking at. And it was just like, man, my white doctor that I've had for several years never said any of this. I just seen this man 30 minutes and he done already gave me some information where I'm like, let me go home and read that out. And so now I'm looking at going into the medical field and going to medical school and really considering a medical career or going into mental health and working with adolescent black males, just to catch them before they're at the age where I am, to not only talk to them about health, but their mental health as well, because your mental health and your physical health are definitely intertwined. And so, yeah, and so I fell in love with the idea of helping black men and black young men be healthier. All right. And so now I'm finding a different love in a different fashion. So I know we were talking about the relationship and how careers can change that, but here we are where I may be pursuing a new career because I found love in a different place from a different way.
Absolutely. Wow, that is profound. Now let me ask you this. What would your advice be to someone who is struggling to find or maintain love in their life?
So I'm not an expert, but I feel like I give great advice. I say
You
this all the time.
do. You do.
My advice don't always work for me, but I feel like I give great advice. No, it was a girlfriend who helped me understand in a relationship. Like it's crazy when you're in a relationship and that other person gives you a better understanding of relationships. It's almost like, oh my God, I'm not good enough to be in a relationship with you. You got information that I don't, it's just, it catch you off guard. But um we were talking about all the different things that impact relationships and why they go bad, right? And she really turned me on to understanding that when you really, really look at the foundation of relationships, most problems, if not all problems, can go right back to expectations. Right. And so if you are struggling in a relationship, if you are struggling to find a relationship, I'll start with in a relationship. If you're struggling in a relationship, the first thing you need to do is start looking at the expectations that have been set for that relationship. The expectations you have for her, have you communicated those to her? The expectations she has for you, has she communicated those to you? Now, y'all need to both be honest and say, can we live up to the expectations that we have for one another? Right? Like it as a man, a lot of times we put our best foot forward because that's just the way it goes, right? As a woman, you can sit back and kind of relax and we're supposed to pursue you. That's just the way it goes. And so there are things that you could say, I'm not sitting that on the table because I'm a woman. I'm saving that for marriage. As a man, we really don't get the luxury to be like, nah, I ain't doing that for you. I'm only doing that for my wife, right? Like that's what the pursuit, that's how it goes. And so I try to tell my homies, like, make sure you being you in that moment, because the moment you stop being who you are is the moment that you're going to change your expectations of this woman that you're saying you're pursuing. Right. And so a lot of times we end up in relationships because we wasn't honest with ourselves about what we expected from that person. And if we wasn't honest with ourselves, we couldn't be honest with them. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you what I expect from you. I'm too busy trying to impress you and not scare you away. So I don't even want to be real. So first and foremost, just be real with her, and hopefully she'll be real with you, because the honesty up front piece, I know it's easier said than done, and it's not about lying, but it's a matter of being comfortable enough to open up and let somebody know everything about you.
Absolutely.
Right. But at least in the process of dating and getting to the point of knowing that you want to be with this person, you got to be upfront about those expectations.
That is very.
And I think people need to, I got this process is you date, then you date exclusively, right? Like, we date, meaning I'm getting to know you to figure out if I want to date you exclusively. Then once I say, like, I want to just focus all on you and I want you to focus your energy, now y'all dating exclusively. You're dating exclusively to see if I focus on you, do you have everything that I need? And do I want to pursue a relationship? Once you say, yes, I want to be in a relationship with you, now there's training grounds for us really bogging down and figuring out if we can be in a life together. Now, some people say that's a year. Some people say it's 3 or 4. Whatever the case may be. So much stuff that happens that training ground definitely should put you in a position where she understands your expectations and you understand hers. Now y'all can be realistic about whether or not you can be in those situations. Sometimes you might not find that out until later, but again, once you start struggling, you gotta be honest. I'm struggling with this situation because anytime you spend time with somebody, you're gonna start loving them. I don't care what it is. Like y'all been dating for 6 months. You're gonna love her. I ain't gonna say you in love, but you're going to love her. And so now somebody you love, they're not giving you what you want. And so get those expectations and that honesty up front. As far as finding love, I look, people say that the Indianapolis dating pool got pee in it. I don't understand that.
It's
I
pee
don't.
everywhere.
I just
Everywhere. I think.
it's what, 1 million people here. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like,
Listen.
I really think it's where you going. And I've said this, and I know it ticks people off, but I feel like women have forgotten how to be desirable as well. Like, yes, we're out looking for you, but if you looking for me too, all right, keep playing like you don't need no man, and you going home lonely every night. All right, well, okay. If you don't need one, then why would I pursue a woman who don't need a man or want a man? And so the dude that you really want, the type of guy you really want, he out there looking for you, but every time he see you, you playing hard like you don't want no man. So he gonna keep it moving. So just don't forget to be desirable. If fellas, look, if you ain't got your stuff together, just leave her alone.
You know what? That is really great advice, and I was actually having this conversation with one of my homegirls. I mean, I believe that there's great potential here in Indy. It took me a little bit because, I was kind of dealing with some things now that I'm back out chill, but I'm like, it is quality everywhere, and I mean, one could always say, like, I've heard, oh, well, the dating pool is better in Texas, right? Okay, well, I know people in Texas that's like, man, it's whack here, so, you know, I
Yeah,
think it's all in.
I got a cousin in Texas, and she be like, "Listen, these dudes. I thought Indianapolis was crazy. She like these dudes down here. They want you to chase them. It's all backwards." I'm like, "Look, she was like one of them people. Oh, these men in Texas are great." Now she like, I can't stand these men in Texas.
Because it's probably different, this is different, but yeah, I ain't gonna shoot down my city. It is some beautiful available brothers here.
And
Whatever.
Indianapolis has some beautiful women. Like I've never had a long distance relationship. I've tried it; it didn't work. So any relationship I've been in here, it's been somebody from Indianapolis, and not successful and necessarily ending in a marriage, but I don't have any hatred or anything like that. And they were beautiful people. So I don't really understand, like, don't get me wrong. Everybody got their hang ups and hold ups, and nobody's perfect. But it really ain't even about finding perfect. It's about finding a person that's perfect for you. And once you realize that person isn't perfect for you, you have the hard journey of now trying to figure out how to disconnect and get yourself together and allowing them the same opportunity to get themselves together, so y'all not walking around hurting the next people up.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, this is such familiar conversation because I literally was having this conversation too. Like, I like to go into a situation and I'm gonna tell you, my intentions is pure. I'm not perfect, right? Like,
Mhm.
just having those intentions in the right place and just really being able to acknowledge, look, I'm not perfect and neither are you, right? And I think that kind of takes some of the pressure off too, when trying to figure out this whole relationship thing. So,
Yeah,
okay, I see you, wisdom.
yeah. I mean, I know fellas and women who get mad, like, he wasted my time. Well, if he told you, like, I don't care if y'all have been talking for 6 months, and then he woke up Tuesday and said, "Hey, look, I know we've been talking for 6 months, but I've been thinking, I don't think this is what I want." You should
Mhm.
thank that man for being honest and open and allowing you to no longer invest your time and energy into him. Like, nobody wants to invest their time and energy and get nothing. But imagine investing your time and energy into somebody who don't even want you. Appreciate that
Ooh,
man who was honest and said, like, yo, this ain't for me. Fellas, the same thing. Quit going off when the chick tell you no, because you see her and she fine, you trying to get her number. She like, nah, no thanks. What you get mad for, bro? She helping you out, so you ain't got to invest your time and energy. Go on and put the energy into somebody that do want your attention, because she told you up front she ain't wanted it. So why you mad?
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank them for the experience. And it's not always, I don't look at it as a failure. I'm going to be human in that moment. I might be in my feelings, but when I connect with my higher self, I'm like, yo, this is in alignment. This is how it's supposed to be. Thanks for the lessons. Thanks for the time. But it was a success because look, hey, we figured out that we not for each other. You figured out that I'm not for you, and or vice versa. So that's a success. Because then that's just gonna put you on the path to be with who and where you're supposed to be. So that's just how I look at it. So look, to my exes, thank you for those experiences. I appreciate it. I
Yeah, so
appreciate
like you said, it's a learning lesson. The best lesson that I've gotten in a relationship came from my girlfriend, and not from some random chick that I was, at a restaurant with that we never went on a second date. So,
it.
you know,
Absolutely.
it's always something to learn.
Always, always. It's always listen, you a student your whole life. And I'm one
Yeah,
of those people where I'm like, man, I'm always open to learn and perfection comes in that. So while I'm here, I'm learning. So hey, that's just
yeah.
what it is.
What better way to learn than learn while you're in a relationship with somebody, right? Like getting that information from somebody you're not in a relationship with is still valuable, right? But being able to get that from a person that you're in a relationship with and being able to apply it is amazing, right? And it when you get relationship advice from outside your relationship, you really don't know how that's going to go, right? But when you get it within your relationship, meaning like we have something that we both can apply to the situation and grow from, then you in my mind, you just have a better shot and a better opportunity to be successful in a relationship. And don't get me wrong, you can still get that information and it not work out. But again, at least you have an element in your relationship that you know is grounded in love, and grounded in somebody hopefully telling you this because this is what they want you to do.
Mhm,
So
mhm. Absolutely. I have one last question. We're gonna wrap this up.
mhm.
Uh, so how do you envision the future of love and relationships like evolving in today's society?
I
Society.
mean, the crazy part, and we kind of touched on it with social media.
Yeah.
I I saw a video of some guys walking down the street with the new Apple Vision. I don't know what they're called, but they got like the big goggles.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I seen like a couple videos online, and then the other day I finally saw somebody like walking down the street with them on. I'm like, yo, you're gonna get hit by a car, right? I don't understand how they work yet, but I'm gonna definitely figure it out because he was able to walk down the street, and obviously the goggles show everything that you see with your eyes, and probably some stuff you don't see strongly peripheral uh wise. But I feel like I feel like we definitely gonna get back to a place where men are recognizing that they need women and women are recognizing that they need men. But I also believe that you're gonna see a big dose of technology involved into that, and you're gonna see the dynamics of relationships, how people communicate, how people connect, how people stay connected. I think you're gonna see that change. I mean, it's scary to think that relationships could be like that movie. I think it was called Demolition Man. It was Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, and they were getting ready to make love, and they put on little head things, and it was all euphoric and crazy. I don't know if it's going to get to that point, but um, you know, we're already at the point where, like, even right now, instead of doing this having this conversation, we're in two different places utilizing technology. I think
Mhm.
you're going to see the extension of relationships start to lean a lot more into utilizing the digital technology and this virtual reality stuff that's going on. I mean, you already got people who are going on dates with the goggles, but they're in two different places, but they're interacting. And I don't know how much of that'll be us in our generation versus the younger generations.
Mhm.
But I am seeing technology play a bigger role again, how people connect, how they express love, how they stay connected. I think that's perfect for somebody who's in a long distance relationship, or somebody like me who could be home for 2 months and then gone every other week. I'm personally not interested in the goggle love, but It's just one of those things where technology, like, you got to get with it and utilize it, or you just get left behind. And so, again, biggest thing is men understanding that they need women, women understanding that they need men. This battle with the sexes stuff that you see going on in social media and in the real world is just, it's ridiculous. Um, as a black man, and no knock to anybody in a interracial relationship, but as a black man, I know I need a black woman right by my side, and I know together we gonna get way farther than we would as individuals. I really believe that. That's for me. That's my belief. Um, but for any man out there, I really believe, like, yo, listen, we put here for service, and so one of those people that you're supposed to serve is your wife. And if you don't believe in marriage, then it's your woman. But I believe that if you invest your time and energy into the right woman, the woman that's for you, you're gonna see an increase in your own life.
Ooh, I love it. Ooh, wisdom, wisdom. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I got to give my little spiel. How can people find you? If you want to be found, how can people find you?
Yeah, I am Chino Dollars on Instagram. Feel free to hit me up on there. Man, listen, I got like 4 Facebook pages. So Avachino on Facebook, Chino De Niro on Facebook, Chino Dollars on Facebook, and Chino Reeves on Facebook. Typically, if you just type in Chino, you'll find me. And man, hit me up, man. I used to do this thing called Dr. Dollars, and I know people used to get offended. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but if I go back to medical school, go to middle school and be a doctor, then what y'all gonna say? But
Listen,
I used to just give my little take on relationship advice, man. But it was always fun. I love helping people, right? Like, my passion is definitely helping youth in the community, but I just love helping people, period. I want to see people be better than what they was yesterday. So if anything I have to offer makes somebody else's day a little bit better and their journey a little bit easier, then I'm all forward. So, I mean, you can hit me up. We can just talk. We can go grab a drink and rap. And shout out to my men's group. We ain't going public with it yet, but the men's group is, hey, they the bomb. Y'all talk about marriage too much. But they the bomb. Them are my bros. Them are my bros, man. They everybody married in the group except me and another cat. And so we be having to take them conversations. But I'm definitely learning the different aspects of marriage that I probably have never considered before.
I love that. So definitely hit Chino up and fellas, get in that group. Right.
Yeah, new men's group coming to the north side, out like Fishers, Castleton area, Carmel, Noblesville, because the other group is in the east. We packed out, so we got a new one coming for the north side.
I love it, and give me that information too, and I'll spread
Yeah,
it for you as well.
most definitely. The relationship soup founder.
Hey. All right. So, well, thank you again, Chino. I always appreciate our time together. And to everybody that's listening, thank y'all for listening. Let me shout out my mama because she will be like, you didn't even shout me out, mama. Thank you for listening. My auntie, all
Shout
them.
out, mama. Hey, mama.
And to everybody that tuned in, thank you. I don't take it for granted. I'm very grateful for you listening. And let's see here. Of course, Relationship Soup, YouTube, Relationship Soup, period. Put the period on there.
Can I send one shout out?
Yes, please do.
Anybody know I lost my pops the day before Thanksgiving, man. I want to send a big shout out to famous Amos. Big time on the far east side. Did a lot for the youth football. He coached me as a kid, coached kids for 30, 40 years, man. So just want to send a big shout out to famous Amos and thank you to the Boys and Girls Club of Indianapolis. That was his charity of choice. So if you ever in the mood to give, just make sure you give it to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Love and light to you. Love and light to you. Because I'm telling you, losing them daddies. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I lost
no,
my
same,
last
same
part.
to you. Yeah, same to you.
His anniversary, his death anniversary is coming up, and it's like, man.
Yeah, prayers for power and strength.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And join the group, Relationship Soup group. So we about to be out. Stay behind, Chino, because we got to converse for a little bit.
I got you.
Thank y'all for listening. My words of wisdom, just love yourself. It starts with self. All right? And we out.